what are you saying?
Group of riders who race any Grand Tour. It very much looks like that as a profile, and you're going to see some riders really on the rack today. It's so early in the season. You're essentially trying to find out what's left, where you are, or what you need to do to get up to speed with the rapidly approaching Giro d'Italia, of course, what the deficit is, and amend it therein. Dimension data, AG Tour Mondial's time, I'm afraid, is not going to get beaten. This, we suspected, wouldn't be a stellar run for them, but how good? Well, let's find out, shall we? So Mark just tucked in.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if that's Cav there in fourth place. I don't think it is.
No, I don't either. We'll have a look in a few moments. Fifth quickest then for the lead four across the line. I've still got my my track cycling head on with minimum riders across the line, which is absolutely nonsense, of course. But there we are. You have to forgive me for that. It's been a long old season. Louis Meintjes embedded within this group, and that's the important one. There he is, his diminutive figure. He is the man. And that's a shocking deficit right from the beginning.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of time to lose on day one. Louis Meintjes there, as you say, back to dimension data, and they'll be hoping he can do something in the hillier stages.
Well, the fry up there was of the quick men, of course, Mark Cavendish at the beginning. So yeah, I'm afraid he invested much into the beginning of the run, taking longer turns than perhaps he would have liked. And he'll be looking forward to tomorrow and the sprint stage that we have.
He is a good time trialist, though, Mark. He won.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it was.
He won the prologue of the Tour of Britain, I think, going back to 2008.
Oh yeah, I think it was clearly by design to protect Louis Meintjes out there, and they may well have had that in mind. But he's given away over a minute, I'm afraid, on all members of Team Sky.
Now this is a team.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say this is a team that I think are one of the underdogs for today. They've certainly got some horsepower in here. Mitchelton Scott with Adam Yates, probably their protected rider for this one.
Team Lotto. Sorry, Mitchelton Scott. I beg your pardon. Yeah, they've got Mitch Hepburn and Luke Durbridge, who are great engine rooms. They're going to lean on them. Will they have to wait for Adam Yates? Quite possibly. By waiting, we mean amend their power so that they don't blow their own teammates out the back. Adam Yates will be going. He'll be going strongly. He was good at the Grand Prix Laziano, but it's been a quiet start to the season for him, and there's always been question marks about his individual time trialling ability. Within a team, they can help him, protect him, and that's precisely what they've got to do. Same could be said for Vincenzo Nibali, I guess, but I always respect his time trialling. I think he's not as bad as some people actually say. Where is Switzer? Can't quite see him at the moment, but there is Nibali at the moment taking the point. And what is the point? Well, Domenico Pozzovivo, I think, was probably their chosen son for this race, and he's dead centre of this group right now, and he looks like a protected rider. We'll see how short his change is when he comes to the fore. That's
That's Cav.
Yeah, there we are. Well, we were speculating as to how much he'd put in.
That is Cav. Has he changed bikes there? He was on his road bike.
Well, if it was an issue, he will be bouncing back for tomorrow, you can be sure of that. He'll be moderately disappointed, but nonetheless, I think he'll get some good points. Just to remind you, the points jersey is orange. Blue for the leader. That'll be pulled on, presumably, by either a member of Team Sky, BMC, or indeed Sunweb, the world champions who go off last today. UAE Emirates on course with Fabio Aru and Diego Lissi, their chosen sons. Here is that nice little shimmy, or a nasty one, depending on how comfortable you're feeling out there. Pozzovivo's threading it nicely. Nearest to us here is Christian Corran. They've stayed reasonably intact. Just drifting back is Domenico Pozzovivo. I think will be the man who's given his head here, despite the fact they've got Vincenzo Nibali on board as well. abundance in riches, riches in abundance by the time they get to stage 4, which is going to be the difficult one. See how they go today. They're already well in the 22, 700 metres remaining. They're going to be in the 23s by the time they cross that one.
Yep, so Bahrain Merida certainly not up there with the fastest times, are they? But not doing too bad for Vincenzo Nibali as we see him driving towards the line. And lots of new kit on display this year, lots of new tech, and we spoke earlier about the teams paying much more attention to aerodynamics these days. It really does make such a big difference, and some of these riders have changed their positions, some of them using a lot of watts.
There we go, 25 metres remaining, and they are in the 23s. Movistar team time is just going to get beaten by these guys. A 23.08 for Bahrain Merida. We'll take ourselves a break, and we'll be back with more coming from the ramp. BMC up very soon. Back in a moment. Welcome back, and not a welcome opening day for Mark Cavendish. He has been through the mill, as you can see, and I'm afraid it's bad news for all Cav fans, of which I include myself. He has had one heck of an injury. He's hit the deck hard, and he's got facial contusions as well. Willia Triestina on your screen right now, and Tony just departing the scene a few moments ago, and to check on Mark Cavendish. He's been down, Tony. It doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look good, and he's not had a very good start to this year. He was out for most of last year injured. Can't find any information out at the moment, but he has hit the ground quite hard. Unfortunately, when you do crash in a time trial, especially a team time trial, you're going to hurt your face because you don't get to put your arms out to break your fall. So we'll try and find out some more information as soon as we can.
Mark Cavendish has been on the deck, and I'm afraid it doesn't look clever. He's got facial injuries. If I had to guess, I'd say he'd hit a piece of curbing. He must have spun round as well, because it's thigh problems, he's got hip problems, he's got elbow and shoulder problems, he's got face problems. Goodness only knows how that looked when he hit the ground. I know how it looks now, Tony. He's back on the bike, and it's dreadful.
Well, we did say earlier as well, the road surface in some of these sections isn't very good, and you know, if you're focused on the back of the rider in front of you and all of a sudden you hit a rough patch of tarmac, or as you say, a hole or a grid in the road, you can come off very easily. You're very aero on these bikes, and you do have control, but if something takes you by surprise, you haven't got your hands on the bars as you normally would on a road bike. A lot of your weight's over the front wheel, so you can lose it very easily.
I'll just try and put up a grabbed picture for you, for those of you that have missed it, of Mark Cavendish coming across the line. It doesn't show all of his injury facially, that he is in a bad place, I'm afraid. Oh, absolute desperate start to the season. So much at stake just in terms of confidence, apart from anything else. And I just wish him the best. I hope it's not as serious as it looks. At least everything was working and he rode it home, albeit on his road bike. But it doesn't look a happy thing. He's going to have a very sore night, Mark Cavendish, I can tell you. And of course, he was hoping that tomorrow would be a sprint day when he could shine. I can't imagine that being the case. He is phenomenal in terms of his recovery. Comes back from the most desperate looking injuries, but it's not a great sight, I'm afraid, for anybody. Here we go then. We'll dwell on that in a moment. Education first, coming to the line, and again, if you're in the 23s, third quickest so far though for them, as they stop the clock at 23.04. That's not a bad run for them.
No, quite good for them. And we were talking about this again earlier before we came on air, and saying, for me, it's a strange team. It doesn't gel, it doesn't flow. They don't seem to have a goal, a target, but you know, it's working for them at the moment. And Jonathan Vaughters manages to find the riders and find the budget and find the sponsors. So yeah, not a bad time for them.
Mitchelton Scott on your screens right now. I must admit, on occasion I mix them up, despite it's an Alto Verso colour palette, with Lotto Jumbo. They seem to have eschewed the green Here's Gazprom, one of our other invitees.
Yep, so another one of those pro-continental teams. Gazprom, a team with entirely a Russian roster turning up at this race, just about to roll down the start ramp.
Gosh, I'm still getting over Mark Cavendish, I'm afraid. I'm just putting it up on Twitter for you, so you can have a look at a shot I grabbed just a few moments ago. But we haven't dwelt on it. We can't until we get a medical report on him. But that is going to hurt. Not only the skin, of course, but just the body shock of hitting the ground at pace.
And, you know, as we said, it was cut short because we had to go to an ad break. But when you're on the time trial bike, you've got your arms in front of you. You can't always see the road surface beneath you, especially in a team time trial. You can't see what's coming if there's a hole or a problem on the road. And then when you hit it, if something does go wrong, you generally don't get your arms out to break your fall. On the road, you tuck and roll or get your arms out to break your fall, and then you roll. On a time trial bike, you hit the ground like a sack of potatoes, as we saw. Was it Giro a couple of years ago when it started in Ireland, when Cannondale at the time, I think it was, Dan Martin, hit the floor very hard indeed.
Yeah, that was the end of his challenge after a great build-up for him as well, I'm afraid, that year. I'm hoping that it's going to be less serious for Mark Cavendish, but I can't imagine him being at his best after taking a body hit like that tomorrow.
No, and especially in a race where, with all due respect, he's going to suffer, and he will have come to this race wanting to suffer. He will have come to this race, you know, wanting to try and get a couple of stage wins, but also for the hard stages, for the climbs, to get some real good training in his legs. So if you're in a bad way, if your body hurts, obviously his face is going to hurt. You're not going to be in the frame of mind where you accept that hurt. You know, I've come to this race, I'm training hard, yes it's going to hurt me, yes I'm going to be on the back foot, but I know it's doing me good. If your body's hurting and you've got maybe a stitch or two in your face and you're just not sleeping right, then you're not going to be in the frame of mind to do that. As we see Mitchelton Scott here, very well drilled, they look good, their aero on the bike, their time not that great at this stage.
No. This is for Adam Yates, but I think it's going to be stage wins only for him by the looks of things. They're clearly protecting him today. Meanwhile, that this is going to be a stellar time, although I have to say, for a man who's not given to stellar time trials, and he's only done this season, he's only raced in Abu Dhabi, so it's a sort of a late-ish start for Aru. I've seen him out earlier than that. He looks to be in decent fluid form, but it's about pace. I'm not sure how much he's got.
It's about pace, and it's about the rest of your season as well. The season now is so long. Guys are racing from, you know, mid-January in Australia right the way down to October. You can't target the whole year. You just have to pick your battles, and sometimes you're going into races just to get the miles in your legs. If he's targeting the Giro, it's a little bit late to be just getting the miles in his legs. He needs to be on form by now.
Well, last year he did Oman and Abu Dhabi, had a hiccup at Strada Bianchi, and a lot of people were actually writing him off. Then he comes back and takes the national champions jersey, 5th in the Dauphiné, and then the Italian road race with one of the bravest rides I've ever seen from Aru. Went off solo to take that. It was brilliant. It was away there for a long time, not sort of Philippe Gilbert long time from Flanders last year, of course, but no. And he finished the season very strongly as well in Milan Torino. He got a 3rd place there, was 7th in Lombardia. So he went out of the year looking very good indeed. after the turnaround, I don't know, it's hard to read Aru at the moment. Here's Israeli Cycling Academy, still in the 23s, but that's Nipovini Fantini's time there, and there haven't been that many teams home. In fact, there's only one team slower than them by the time that they finish, and so it's going to be individual stages only, our friend, from the boys from Israel.
Yeah, but you know, in this company you wouldn't expect them to be as well drilled as the other teams in the team time trial. So 24.06 for them, and 8th place overall at the moment. 4 of them get home, so they'll be quietly pleased with that. They got there and didn't lose far too much time.
Astana. So Miguel Angel Lopez, how will he go? I think he'll go very well. And in fact, if this is to be kept as a Colombian party in the absence of Nairo Quintana, then you know, why not? Miguel Angel is here. Good team this actually, with Andrei Grivko and Alexei Lutsenko, both of whom can actually turn a time trial in gear. Oscar Gatto's not bad at this game either, you know.
No, very good team. They've got a few problems off the bikes at the moment with funding and wages and that sort of thing. Don't forget they had a very hard year last year with Michele Scarponi's tragic death, and stage 5 of this race actually is held in Scarponi's hometown of Filotrano, so that'll be an emotional day for them as well.
Yes, indeed, it will. It's dotted with tragedy, cycling, of course, and so much of I guess the psyche of riders is about just putting everything into exactly the moment and what you're doing, and that's what this is all about. We do lose them, of course, and it does carry it hangs a big pall over racing, no matter what the circumstances. But at least in Italy, they fate them. They never forget them.
That was close. Rider number 206 there from UAE just rubbed against the back wheel. That's Jan Palank, just rubbed up against the back wheel of 204, and that's Ghana, who's just come off the track championships as world individual pursuit champion for the 2nd time. I think he picked up bronze in the team pursuit as well, so Jan Palank lucky to get away with that one.
Well, so was Pippo Ghana. Super effort by him last week. 1,700 metres remaining of their run. This is not bad, you know.
No, they're going okay at the moment.
Yep.
They're away down on Sky. This corner that you can see just in the far reaches of your picture there, Sky hit that on 21 minutes and 20 seconds. So, you know, they're already past that time. But it's worth saying that Sky's time is 18 seconds quicker than Katusha Alpecin, and then 40 seconds quicker than the next closest time.
Yeah. I think that's all going to change a little bit later on. Mitchelton Scott will probably start knocking on that door, but so will this team by the looks of things. Nice little shimmy through there. This is their drive for home. They've got to power this in over the last kilometre. Oh, and they're double checking, and this is the reason why Fabio Ru is trimmed off the back through that sequence. Gets back in, almost a drop back by Ulissi, who's the other protected rider here. Both protected riders at the back. And not ringing too many of those changes, as you can see. 800 metres to go then. Well, Fabio Ru looked like he'd been disengaged there, but managed to get himself back on.
Yeah, just there was just a bit of a shout there, which we could hear from our motorbike microphones. Just said, hey, hang on a second, lads, we're suffering a bit here. We need to get into the line. And even this late on, although he only would have lost 10 or 12 seconds, you can see that they don't want him to lose anything, so they're driving now to get to line. 6 of them still left, and you know, Aru's probably sat on the back for 50% of this ride at least.
Yeah, looks like he's going to get the same time as the 5 that come across. Those 6 man just disengaged. He'll get a little bit extra here, but let's have a look. There's Education first time, and equal on it, but 36 seconds down. They've been given the 10th or 100th of a second. I imagine Aru probably helps that matter, but 23.04, you've got to be in the 22s if you're going to feature on today's podium, one would think. Back in a moment. Welcome back. BMC, what a strong team this is. Wow, Greg van Avermaet is their principal, but it's presumably about Rowan Dennis, Stefan Kung, Patrick Bevan as well, also very, very strong time trialists. This is a unit that does this sort of thing extraordinarily well, and frankly, I think you're going to be hard pushed to beat this team. Possibly, well, Sky have set the benchmark time, that's a great one. BMC are certainly going to be up there. Sunweb will be as well, you can be sure of that. And so they are underway. Your thoughts, Tony, are that they're clearly one of the favourites today. They're extraordinarily well marshalled. This won't be a problem for them.
Very strong team, previous world champions in this event. Very well drilled, experienced. They've got a real powerhouse of a team here. Yeah, I think they are going to run Team Sky very close in this one indeed.
Here's your Emirates finish, just again their average pace throughout the run, just shy of the 56 kilometres per hour. You've got to be 56 and more as an average if you're going to win it. Team Katusha Alpecin are, as we stand, second overall. You see Tony Martin just coming across the line, but it's Team Sky that are bossing it just for the time being. Big checks. I think Kiri must have done so many turns out there. He didn't mind taking a hit of just a bike length, if indeed they did separate him such as that. And Mitchelton Scott coming right now. This is a tidy time. We're about the 300 metre mark. These cameras foreshorten constant. In fact, there's the 200 metre mark. This is going to be tight. It's a very, very strong run. 25 metres. They're going to have it here. And Mitchelton Scott, with a 22.23. Wow, that was absolutely fabulous. Mitchelton Scott with Mitch Hepburn and Luke Durbridge, Turbo Durbo in the engine room, doing a proper job there.
Well, said they had some horsepower, and didn't they go on to prove that? Driving to the line, 22.23, took 8 seconds, took 5 seconds out of Team Sky as they crossed the line. So they're in the box seat for now.
Yep, very, very strong. Well, if Adam Yates was in that group, I didn't quite see if he was there, then that is going to be special. Was he on board?
I couldn't see him, but then I've just been told off by Alex Dowse's mum for saying that he got dropped where he hadn't.
No, well, he definitely hadn't. We spotted him on
I did correct myself.
You did correct yourself. You did a good job. 5 seconds then, Team Sky. Katusha Alpecin, 24 seconds adrift. Mitchelton Scott, well, a lot was saying, what about the Orca team of old? Not quite the same team. Well, you dangle a carrot in front of the likes of Caleb Ewan, Jack Bauer, but particularly Mitch Hepburn, Luke Durbridge, Mezget's, Darrell Impey. You name those riders and you know it's going to be a strong performance, especially when you've got an uncomplicated course such as this. You may as well go all in, because so much can hinge on your performance today. You've got to.
Well, just solid, powerful riders, you know. Bauer, Durbridge, Hepburn, Impey, Mezgec, as you say, they're just the engine room, aren't they? You've got Adam Yates in there and Caleb Ewan, specialists in their own right, in their own events, but those other 5 will just drive along all day. They're the type of riders that are used to sitting on the front of the bunch for 100k and just riding and riding and riding. So no surprise to me that they put in a fantastic time.
Yeah, and all credit to them, to be honest, for just getting on with the job at hand. They used to be the finest in the discipline up there. They'd actually go for the prologues on the Grand Tours and the like. This is another team that can hit above expectations, let's put it that way. They've been making a lot of effort to iron out as a team. Jos van Emden, Primoz Roglic, very, very strong contenders. I mean, in George Bennett, I think they've got a great chance of actually taking the title here. Lotto Jumbo about to come off the ramp. We've just had a stellar time set out there on the course by Mitchelton Scott. And I think Lotto Jumbo almost look like they've got the Alto Verso colour palette of the Aussies. Could have a good run here. They've got a great engine room with Van Emden and Roglic. Bennett will not want to cede any time to the likes of Adam Yates and Mitchelton Scott. They will go strongly. They're a good unit.
Yeah, very good unit. Don't forget Guy Van Hoek in there as well, one of the Belgian national track squad. So a very well-drilled unit here as well. I'm not sure they'll be up there vying for the podium places, but certainly, as you say, George Bennett will have his eye on the overall for this one.
Well, let's see. They were something special. And they're a regular team, let's put it that way, Lotto Jumbo, but I think they may well produce something stellar here. Just looking at the old canal bridge here, which I think is the only rise and fall for Villa Triestina. Pippo Pozzato, a great old stager, and a man who heads up a team that the Italians very much warm to. I often think that it possibly has something to do with the fact it's one of the grooviest kits out there. I quite like it, I must say. They've got Batazzo, Buzzato, Coladan, Jakub Mareshko, strong performer, with Mosca and Eduardo Zardini, as we go for an art shot on Team BMC. Can they possibly start to trim this down? How much closer to the 22 mark do you think we can actually get today?
I don't know. We're at 22-23 at the moment. It's a big ask for anyone to get sub 22, but BMC driving along here, going very well. Interesting, just one thing to point out, a lot of the teams have got those plastic wallets or pockets on the back of their skin suits now that they put the numbers into. It means they're more aerodynamic and they sit smoother on the skin suit. BMC not gone for that, just got the old safety pins on there.
There was a suggestion that it might be an idea to offer various types of numbers to the riders. I think it was this year or a couple of years ago, just said, no, we're not going to bother doing that. There was a call to have stick-on labels. You've seen that at the Track World Championships for some of the athletes. You have to put your kit on first and then stick it on, have somebody stick it on afterwards. There's a mantra to pinning, and some riders actually quite like it.
Oh, yes.
Bizarre.
Yeah. Many a time you can grab a rider and say, excuse me mate, do you know your number's pinned on like this? And one of the biggest problems is, well, you can't really see it there, but what the riders do, they put the pin through the number, through the skin suit, back up through the skin suit, and then back through the number. What that does is stops the I can't believe I'm educating people on how to pin numbers on, but what that does is stops your skin suit pulling into the hook of the pin and eventually putting a hole in your skin suit, because you know these things now are running at, you know, the cheapest skin suit you can probably get is a couple of £100, and the really expensive ones with all the aero assists on them, you're looking at £500-600. So you don't want to ruin those in a hurry.
Well, no, I mean, if it's by metre as well, my skin suits really cost an awful lot.
That's not a vision I want in my head ever.
13.3 kilometres from home then for BMC. Well, they're deep into their run. Let's see how these guys are going. We haven't really focused too much on them because we weren't expecting too much, and the clock says that we were right to think that. Nonetheless, the odd day they'll be in the break, you can be sure, on stages 3, 5 and 6. As for tomorrow, let's wait and see, shall we? We've had some bad news about Mark Cavendish. He's still not stepped out of the race, but he's been knocked about well and proper. I'm afraid he's suffered facial contusions which don't look clever at all. Welcome back. Quick Step Floors about to get underway. A strong team this, with Nicky Terpstra as the heart of it, but with some real tough guys in there, including the likes of Ilio Kaiser, who's a big stay-away rider. A great 6-day man as well, so endurance-wise he's got it. Zelix Dibar, you don't need to tell me to tell you too much more about him. Philippe Gilbert, a strong man as well, and even Fernando Gaviria can go very well. This is a team that, well, former world champions, of course, as time trialists. Last 2 years sort of ebbed a little bit, not saying Division 2, but today they could take a big step forward. As Mitchelton Scott have done, they turned the clock back to be at their very best today as well.
Yep, so 5 seconds to the better of Team Sky, with Team Kasusha a further 24 seconds back. So great ride there by the Mitchelton Scott team, and BMC now out on course along with Quick Step.
Just looking at your team time trial standings, Mitchelton Scott with a 23.23, Team Sky 5 seconds further adrift at the moment, and Team Katusha Alpecin holding station, waiting for BMC to bring it home. It will be quick. We've just seen Quick Step Floors come off the ramp, so these must be a 10 or 11 minutes, there we are, into their run. That's the important one. If they can maintain over 56, and in fact that is a leading time, or second quickest at the split, but I think if they can hold on to that, they could well be challenging Mitchell and Scott for the win here today. BMC more than capable. Just seen Quick-Step Floors come off the ramp, former world champions of course, and got off the boil a little bit time trialing wise, but they have some extraordinarily powerful riders, including Nicky Terp. So we've got Gaviria, Gilbert, Philip Gilbert, Ilio Kaiser, Zdenek Zdibar. Quality. This is Gazprom, sort of similar livery. This is not Quick-Step drawing to a close, and indeed coming down to fifth man here off the back. And in fact, as you can see, lucky to get a top 10. That's Dimension Data, who are hampered by a crash, and it's Mark Cavendish that's been bitten for them, I'm afraid. It looks so nasty for Mark. I'm just hoping he hasn't broken a cheekbone, because the lump under his eye looks significant.
Yeah, when I zoomed in on the picture, we don't want to cast aspersions, and we're saying we hope he hasn't done that, but when you looked at his cheekbone, how quickly it swelled up, you know, still out on the course, and we get that picture, so it's swelled up very quickly indeed. So let's hope he's okay to, well, let's hope he's okay to continue, but let's hope he's okay full stop and he hasn't got any lasting injuries.
Yeah, he's just had too many of those. 17.6 Ks to go for Quick-Step Floors. Still a distance. A couple of other interesting teams to come off. Next up will be Trek Segafredo. Now they've got Fabio Felline, who I think is a good bet. He's one of these guys who blows hot and cold throughout a season. What's he got for backup though? That's the big question here. Well, it's not a bad team. It has to be said. Matthias Brandley is in here. Mats Pedersen as well. Jesper Stuyven, Boy van Poppel. These are strong riders. And Feline has got some. He's got some troops in the trenches. Let's put it that way. Trek Segafredo coming off the ramp. What do you think of their chances today for a half decent time? Feline will be hoping for one.
Yeah, I know when we were sat down before we came on air and we were comparing notes, and I've got my orange highlighter and my yellow highlighter, and you've got your pink highlighter, and you had Feline highlighted, and I sort of raised an eyebrow. Trek Segafredo, for me, they're a very well-drilled team, they're a very well-funded team, but I just don't see their tactics. Not their tactics, but I don't see their setup. I don't see what their plan is, or who their protected rider is, or, you know, are they looking at the Giro, are they looking at the Tour de France, as we just see BMC and Lotto Jumbo just waving each other while they're out training. Hi guys, how you doing? Good day. Coffee back in the port later. I just don't see Trek's open on what they're looking to do this year. You know, they had Contador, didn't they, who was their sort of their hope, but they had Contador in the last 2 years of his career where he was, you know, on the wane, so to speak. So it just remains to be seen who's going to be their next superstar.
Just picking up on some live data on Damiano Caruso. The power ebbs and flows. You always get this super vaulting, although he's holding steady in the 400s, as you can see. Depends where you happen to be within the line, but just bobs in. As you can see, that's Greg Van Avermaet that's staying up well here. Just back to Trek. They've had a problem with pneumonia. Gianluca Brambilla, unfortunately, has been disengaged from the team due to pneumonia. Shocking. But they have got specialists like Mullen, Brandley, Mads Pedersen, and I think even Feline is not a bad tempo rider, so I think they may well produce something of a surprise for you. What about BMC? How are they looking to you?
Well, Michael Shah just bailed out, just finished his turn on the front and just looked across at the guys and raised his hands as if to say you're on your own. So that's them down to 4, 5 riders now in the picture. So another on the back note, down to 5. So Shah bailed out there, so it's just the 5 of them left. They've got, what have they got? About 5k to go here.
There's Rowan Dennis, big engine room. He's taking double turns on the front, and in fact he was actually looping in at about man 3 on occasion. That's Pat Bevan as well, who's a very good time trialist in his own right. Stephen Kung will, I believe, is on the nose at the moment. Can't get a positive ID on him just for the time being. But with 4.6 kilometres to go, this is going to be a strong run. 17:45. Can't gauge at this point whether that is good or bad, but it's going to be amongst the best. And in fact, you can see that it was Kung that did a very, very long turn there. You've seen other teams just ringing the changes almost as a constant. Astana, not bad, you know. That's a Emirates time there, which I think they're going to just miss out on by the time that they hit the line. In fact, Bahrain and Merida are also locked in there. 25 metres remaining. A lot of teams around this point, aren't there, on the timing boards?
Yeah, just over 23 seconds, 23:10 seconds, so 23:12 for Astana in 8th place. Not a disaster, but certainly, you know, when you're losing almost a minute to the likes of Sky and Mitchelton Scott this early on, there's a lot of work to do.
There is. Well, still no news on the condition of Mark Cavendish.
No, I haven't got anything for you, I'm afraid. I've had a look around.
Yeah, me too. I've been delving in. We've got our sources, but for the time being, we wait, and we're just hoping for the best. Here is your Trek team. As you say, they've been shining brightly. They're going to have to rebuild, and they've fallen in behind Fabio Fellini, who is one of those guys who can occasionally just. He goes in spikes form-wise. That's what I was saying from last year. I'm just hoping he's on a spike right now. It would be good for Trek. BMC then with 19 minutes into their run, only 3 kilometres remaining. How are they stacked then with that time?
Well, not too bad actually. They're going to be there or thereabouts as we come over the canal bridge, and this is literally the king of the mountains climb of the course, isn't it? It is pan flat. Apart from that, if you had a tailwind, you could roll a marble from one end of this course to the other, as we see Lotto Soudal, the second Lotto name team, taking the start ramp. Yeah,
you know, occasionally they produce absolutely stellar results, usually on short kind of prologues, Lotto Soudal. Andrew Greipel, when he's part of the engine room, he's usually good. He's not here. Lotto Soudal with Chase Benut off the back of the Strada Bianchi. He's hosed down well. Victor Campanets, Jens de Buskera, we have Jens Kirkelaar as well. This is a great classics look to this team, and they're going to have some fun on stages 3 and 5, I believe. You never know, they might produce a decent run here, because Mashinsky, Nico Mace and Tosh van der Sande. It's a hard man's team, this, and sometimes hard men can go well on a time trial.
Yeah, very much so, and it's a hard race, this, isn't it? You know, we've got a couple of, let's not call them easy stages, but flatter stages. But there are 3-4 stages of this where the terrain certainly is up and down. So focusing on BMC at the moment, 1.7 kilometres to go for them, 20 minutes and 42 seconds. So where are they? They're about a minute off of the fastest time so far.
Well, Rowan Dennis still very much intact. The man who's just backed out of this, though, Stefan Kung, he'd taken so many turns out there. He's sacrificed himself on behalf of Damiano Caruso, who's here at the back right now. Rowan Dennis taking a long old turn, only a quartet still involved. Pat Bevan, who's a great time trialist himself as well. So this quartet are going to go for it. They've basically, Stephen Kung sacrificed himself, bringing them up to this point. They go under the Flamme Rouge right now. Here we go, only 4 of them, which means that this is going to be a tired old run for the line. Are they going to make it?
Could do with the time on the screen, couldn't we, as opposed to that live data. So this is quite an important time, so we'd like to know what they're doing. 4 of them left. They can see the finish, 21:39, 22:23. This is going to be tight.
700 metres, 600 metres right now, and we get that rather annoying. I'd rather they kept the camera here, to be honest, as they ran all the way to the line, but we get this constant run of 3 cameras foreshortening. Here we are, about 400 metres. It's going to be absolutely cutting to the bone here, I'm afraid, this time. At 22:23 is their target time. I think they're going to come in by about 2 seconds. Let's have a look. Still nowhere near the line just for the time being. Next shot is the one that you really want. Here it is. 22:23. I think they're going to get there. This is super. Oh, at 22:19. Good work by BMC, and that properly is, we won't declare it as the winning time just yet, but it's certainly going to be good enough for a podium. Good work.
Great ride there by BMC, and they obviously went into it with a preordained plan. They shredded riders when they wanted to. It wasn't like the riders got dropped. Van Avermaet still at the back there, previous winner of this race. So he's probably their protected rider for this, although I think going through it, he's, you know, it's maybe a little bit too hilly for him this year, but that remains to be seen. But fantastic ride by BMC, one of the previous World Championship time trial teams that are in this race.
Well, you know, Rowan Dennis is surprised before. He surprised in California, he's surprised at Tour Down Under. He's taken on some very, very big inclines. What can he do on this race when we get to stage 4, the big one, Foligno to Sanano Sosetito? That is going to be a tough ask, but never count him out. Rowan Dennis is, they call him the honey badger. The honey badger is not sweet. It doesn't want to let you have the honey which it feasts upon, and it's one of the meanest creatures out there. Go Rowan. Welcome back. Dimension Data Director Ralph Aldag. They're still waiting for a condition report on Mark Cavendish, but yeah, there's a lot of potholes, and basically one of them did for Mark Cavendish. Road surface not ideal. You were mentioning it earlier on, Tony Gibb, and it's taken a prisoner, I'm afraid, and it's Mark Cavendish.
Yeah, it did. It didn't look great, that road surface out there, and I'm just on with Alex Dowsett at the moment, trying to get some info from him on just how bad it was. So Mark Cavendish will wait for an update, but best wishes to him, and let's hope he is okay.
Yeah, naturally. He's a big part of what makes cycling exciting. We may well update the rest of our Eurosport family in a few moments' time, so do bear with us. Welcome back, everybody. We're it's 5.6 kilometres to go for Quick Step. We've had a stellar finishing time from BMC of a 22.19. They lead Mitchelton Scott right now by a margin of 4 seconds. Other teams targeting a good run as well. If Mitchelton Scott can do it, then Quick Step have got to believe that they can do it as well. Sunweb, the world champions, who have world team time trial champions, who have 5 of the members of that championship winning team on board, they will go last, by the way. Waves today, some white horses, as you can see, and so the surface is turning over. Unfortunately, the surface we're racing on here has also caused a turnover of Mark Cavendish on course and hit a pothole, gone down hard, hip, thigh, elbow, shoulder, and more importantly, or more severely, facial injuries as well for Mark Cavendish. He must have been going at pace. Presuming that he went into a pothole, pinch puncture, from what we can gather at the moment, and went down hard. Sounds like a big old tumble. We're wishing him the very best. He did ride in on a road bike, but we're still waiting a condition report. Lotto Jumbo then coming to the line, 8th quickest with a 23.10. Not too bad, but when you think where are they going to find the time out there on the course to make up on the likes of BMC and indeed Team Sky, hoping for George Bennett, maybe Primož Roglic later in this race, but I'm afraid those kind of gaps are going to hurt right from the beginning. Whatever you lose here as a team, you have to make up as an individual through the run.
Yeah, and don't forget, you know, they've got a couple of great riders, not only Bennett, but as you said, Rogers. He had that famous win last year, didn't he, in the Tour de France up to Serge Chevalier, where everybody thought he was going to get caught. Stage 16, 17, I think it was. Everyone thought he was going to get caught, and he just sat there all day and took a great win. So there's plenty of strength there in that team, but losing that amount of time, you know, you can make that amount of time up quite easily if someone has a really bad day, but you have to have a lot of people having a bad day when you're down on finishing 23.10 and you've got teams up in the 22s.
3.4 kilometres to go for this team. We did have a rolling clock there, I believe, or was it power data? Sorry, I just missed that. I was double checking on Mark Cavendish in condition. Still no word. As soon as you're off the back here, you hit the wind and it's hard to get back in. Peter Sagan here. He's wearing race number 1, by the way, and the Bora Hansgrohe team as a team, which you're probably thinking, well, where are the stripes? Well, they weren't the team trialing team champions. This is a strong team, and it's an entertaining one. Any team with Peter Sagan in is exactly that. But they've got Maciej Podnar, they've got Leo Koenig, who could win overall. Some are saying Rafa Majka as well. Sagan's going to have his fun over the next couple of days. The sort of terrain that allowed him to finish second a few years ago, was it 2013? Has changed. It's not going to be a Sagan kind of course, this. However, a good run in the time trial, the team time trial, which starts off this great race, wouldn't go amiss. And quite frankly, they're capable of delivering something special. They've got a lot of power on board.
Yeah, so as well as protecting Davide Formolo for the overall, they've got some real strength in here with Sagan, Bodnar, Berghardt, as you said. Koenig's going to be one for the climbs as well, Majka, but Daniel Oss, very strong rider who will be good for them as well. But you know, we can just see the replays of the leading teams coming over the line here. It's not a lottery, this. We know the 5 or 6 teams who are going to be up there overall, and right now I don't think Bora are going to be there in those 22s. I think a short 23 for them.
Well, I'm hoping for the best for them, because I'd love to see Rafa Majka go well. I'd love to see Leo Koenig in particular, actually. He had a knee problem, didn't he, last year, which just about wrote him off for the year. But he's a very good time trialist, and more than that, he can get up some inclines likewise. And on the rolling terrain that begs questions of some of the pure climbers, stages 3 and 5, I think Leo Koenig again can enjoy life. He could be one of those people that you start to just put a little star next to occasionally. This is Philippe Gilbert, who's been disengaged, and it looked like he didn't want to, but no way back in for him here. There'll be a stage that throws a temptation up to this man, who is, if nothing else, a phenomenal entertainer.
Yeah, very much so, and he's just been dropped off the back of the line here. They've got 700 metres to go. I think Quick-Step just going to be outside the time of Sky here, coming up to the line. 500 metres to go for them. Sky's time a 22:28. They're
2:50 to go. They're not going to get there. I think they may well I think they'll embed, maybe in 3rd place. Let's have a look. There's Team Sky's time. I think they're just going to miss out, I'm afraid. There we are. 4th place there is Katusha Alpecin, and that's where they're going to sit with a 22:34. Well, I think they'll take that.
Podium at the moment for 3rd place. Sorry, 4th place they flick on to 22:34. But yeah, keep themselves in with a shout, don't they, for some overall glory later on. Not sure who their protected rider would be. They're going to probably be more for stage wins here, but as you say, Nicky Terpstra won Le Samien at the start of this year, but not quite sure he can climb with the best of the riders that are here.
Here is Bora Hansgrohe, and of course principal rider is Peter Sagan, although I guess their favoured sons will be Formolo, Koenig and Majka for the overall.
Very nice race. It's the start of the season, and I'm trying always to do my best here, and I was success every year. I took some stage win for the team. Then we are here ready to do something nice. Yeah.
You know what I love about Peter Sagan is that he's just Peter Sagan. There's no impersonation of anybody else. He never feels inclined to stand on any airs and graces. There was a black tie dinner that he turned up in it wasn't exactly a string vest, but it was you get the idea. He does his own thing, and he does it very well.
You're not going to ask him to leave, though, are you? I think you want Sagan at your dinner in a string vest more than you don't want him there.
It was his designer string.
He's great for the sport. He's absolutely fantastic for the sport. His honesty, his bluntness, and, you know, the entertainment that he provides in races as well. You know, I'd rather go for it than go for 5th.
This team, they pulled it out of the bag here on the team time trial in the past, Francis de Jeux. They're now Groupama Francis de Jeux. And I must say, the livery exchanges has kind of livened them up a bit. A man who needs livening up, I'm afraid, is Tom Dumoulin. He's not been well. He actually looks unwell as well. Too many wells there. But the bearded form of Silent Geschke. Watch out for Lenny Kamner. Equally, Wilco Kelderman and Chad Hager. They're going to go well. Tom Dumoulin. I'm not sure. He's going to lead them into this. I am not certain how he is feeling. He says he's feeling rotten. And if he's got the lurgy, then that will certainly knock him back just a little. That said, this is his game. This is kind of where he focused on at the start of his career. He's very good at time trialling. Team Sunweb are the world team time trialling team champions. And part of that unit was Lenny Kamner, Wilco Kelderman, of course Tom Dumoulin, Chad Hager. They can go extremely well, and they will, notwithstanding potentially having to wait for Tom Dumoulin. If he feels really bad, he'll hand over, if you like, the crown to Kelderman and Kamner to enjoy themselves deeper into this race. If he's not that bad, they'll go well.
Yeah, and they're a team that have always been good at this event in whatever the name's been on the front of the jersey. And with Dumoulin here to marshal them, Nicholas Arndt is no mean time trialist either, and I think they'll be up there regardless of how well Dumoulin's feeling. They'll still be drilled and they'll still be looking for a podium place here.
He did have a short turn there, probably shorter than I thought he would at the front if he was at his best. In the past, I've seen him take on extraordinary long turns. I think that was what did for Vasil Kirienka as part of Team Sky's push here. They find themselves at the moment on the podium, but only in third place. Nonetheless, not too many massive time gaps, of which some have suffered out there. Mark Cavendish, I'm afraid, we're still waiting for a condition report on him. If you're wondering about Team Dimension data, they took a hit out there, sadly. Meanwhile, Bora Hansgrohe we're looking at the moment. That's the back end of Marcus Burgert. Big unit he most certainly is, and coming backwards here, ringing the changes, is Masaj Bodnar. Just popping out there is Rafa Majka, one of the sort of outside favourites for the race. I think you must probably expect him to be more than capable of a top 10 finish here. We'll see how they go. Groupama Francis de Jeux taking a turn. They're in that a little box section. You go straight, you take a right, a left, another left, and a final left to bring yourself back around past the tennis courts and the swimming pools here, onto the front. Some of the hotels here look very grand, and when you get inside them, they're not. Let's put it that way. The Italians generally tend to live outside. That was the excuse I was given when I was given an appalling room that looked like a waiting room at Dignitas. But anyway, Trek Sagafredo, it's got some nice rooms, you probably just have to spend a bit more. Trek Sagafredo coming home for a decent run. 6th quickest and in the 22s. That's better than you thought, Tony.
Yep, short 23, so that was what I punted for them. 22.58 for Trek, so good ride for them. And see how they go on. I know Feline is your tip for this one for them overall. And,
well, for them, yes.
I'm
not expecting him to knock any castles down, but you never know. He has that sort of spike form that occasionally comes good. But Trek Sagafredo, 22.58. I don't think that's bad.
Well, this is early for a rider to be suffering, especially one such as Marcus Burkhardt, just off the back of the team at the moment, trying to get back into it. Don't forget, only 7 riders starting this race for each team, and he just gets himself back in there. It is so hard once you get out of the string. You're hit by the wind so quickly, especially on a day like today where we've got the wind coming from the left-hand side of the road where the sea is, and you get hit by that, and very, very difficult to get back on terms.
I'm just going to have a look and find out just how their run was for Francis de Jeux, as they once were at this race.
Great picture of Dumoulin there, and that aero helmet that looks perfect, doesn't it? Just feeds onto his back, giving you a really smooth, streamlined, aerodynamic look. Shame he's got a radio sticking out of his back, but never mind.
Having those long tails, you've got to have the discipline to use them. Tom Dumoulin does. His head position is impeccable. if you're constantly bobbing up and down, the long tail becomes an air brake. It's not good.
Well, not only that, but the aerodynamics is so specific to a rider. The teams generally are sponsored, well, the teams are sponsored by a helmet supplier, so they all generally only have one aero helmet, and it might not be that that aero helmet works for everybody. So the long tail or the short tail, whichever way you want to look at it, is generally specific to the helmet supplier. It works for Dumoulin, but it might not work for another rider in the team. But as Dumoulin's the leader of the team and winner of last year's Giro, this is what we go with.
Do you remember the original Katusha helmets, which looked like a witch's finger? They went way down the back in 3 broken sections. They were awful.
Yeah.
One looked down and you were basically going backwards.
I think they were the original LAS helmet, I'm not sure, but you go back over the years, there have been some fairly hideous looking helmets that, you know, look like a flying saucer on some people's heads and all sorts of things.
I remember those as well. You're absolutely right. Sean Kelly won Milan-San Remo for the second time with a helmet that looked like he'd spent a penny in it. I said, what's the worst helmet you've ever worn? And he said, the best helmet is the one that you paid to wear. Simple as that. Proper pro. No matter what the shape.
It's the response about the bikes as well.
Yep, exactly.
You know, oh, you're riding this bike, that bike, the other bike this year. Can you tell me what's the best bike you've ridden? Oh, the one I'm on this year. The bike I'm on this year is just head and shoulders above the one I was on last year. Until next year.
Yes. Meanwhile, how do you think they'll go today?
Groupama FDJ?
Yeah.
Not one for them, I don't think. It's not an event
No,
that
I don't think they'll win it, but how close to 22s do you think they'll get?
Remains to be seen, but looking on the times at the moment, it looks like they're going to do about a 23:15, just trying to extrapolate the time check that I've seen as we see Bora here taking the last of those left-hand turns. It's interesting, isn't it? A lot of the inflatable arches this year now are broken in the middle. They don't go the whole way over the road, given the problems we've had in the last couple of years.
Yes, indeed. And indeed, if they collapse it, or if one collapses, they've got 2 compressors now. If one collapses, half the road remains open.
Yeah.
That could be useful, especially if your name happens to be Yates.
Well, we saw team cars going underneath with, was it Liège last year, where the team cars almost had the bikes taken off the roof when one came down. But yeah, you don't want to be going into one of those inflatable arches.
Last year, Francis de Jure finished in 3rd behind BMC and Quick-Step Floors. So I wonder if they can maintain that. They did then have Thibaut Pinot, Bonnet, Ludvigsen, Morabito, Sebastian Reichenbach, who went on for a very strong finish. Rao, Roy and Ladanieu. A different team almost entirely. I'm wondering who's actually been carried over into this one. In fact, nobody. Oh, Ladanieu, was he there? No, he wasn't. So they have Dan Holland, David Chimolai, looking at Bora at the moment, by the way. I'm just telling you about Groupama, Francis de Jure. Duchesne of Canada, Holgaard, Dan Holgaard, the Norwegian, Ladanieu, Morabito of Switzerland, Marc Serrault and Benoit Vaugrenard. The thing is, when a team starts to change its approach to time trialling, in other words, giving time over to it, they usually get better. Lotto Soudal did that a couple of years ago. This is not their strongest team. Clock would be nice. Anyway, there we are. A 23:17 for them.
So 13th place for Lotto Soudal, and that's a whole chunk of change to be losing, isn't it? Almost a minute.
Yeah, afraid so. That's not great. Who's their man? Well, you could say Chase Benoot, courtesy of his stunning performance in the Strade Bianchi. But Benoot's not going to make up that kind of ground unless he has a very, very lucky day out there, I'm afraid. Tosh van der Sande also part of that unit.
Epic ride, wasn't that, by Chase Benoot in
Loved it.
Strade Bianchi? It was just brilliant.
There we are. Damiano Caruso, is he going to have a word with us? No. I think he's been elected to go and sit there. Yeah, can you go and sit there?
We're all going to have a shower in the bus. You go and sit on the hot seat. It's almost like putting your brakes on just before the finish line, isn't it? So, I don't want the jersey. There's no way I want the jersey.
Yeah, well, he's going to have to sit there while his mates have some pasta. Oh, look at that. Somebody hand him a tissue. He's got a cold, and a more graphical representation of a cold I think would be hard pushed to find. He's got a bead on, as the Aussies would say. But I mean, more than that, he's got a candle on by the looks of things. I'm hoping that Tom Dumoulin survives this one. Let's put it that way. They need some others that need to survive as well. That's Lenny Camner that's just in front of him, and Wilco Kelderman was indeed one in front of Camner. Bora Hansgrohe then. Time to dig in with 7.7 kilometres to go. They look reasonably smooth from a team that we wouldn't have necessarily put a spotlight on. We know that they're a powerful unit. This group, Groupama, Francis de Jure, down to 4 only. Gosh, can't see where they are on the course at the moment, but they're in finishing mode right now, and they've hit the 20-minute mark, but I don't know where they are on course from that shot. I mean, I don't recognise all my palm trees. There we are. And to go, couldn't see that either. I think that's is that 10 to go for Team Sunweb? I think so.
Yeah, they're just about to start the turns, so they go in on 11.7 to go, and they come out on 10.9 to go, or 10.2 they come out, and then they hit the time check on 10.2.
You talk about the gnarly old surface. This is where it gets nasty, isn't it? Round the back of some of the villas and hotels here. And let's have a look at it. You can see on the part of the road there, it's just unkempt, let's put it that way. I think that's probably the kindest thing you can say for a terrible road surface, much of which looks like a melted cracker. It's just not very nice at all, I'm afraid, and it's taken a prisoner today in the form of Mark Cavendish. Let's hope these guys stay safe. Just ebbing a little bit. Wilco Kelderman doesn't look happy. They've dropped him. So if Kelderman has been dropped, well, he needs to get back in. At least he's got the opportunity to do exactly that. But just starting to struggle. Big sail into the corner. That was Simon Geschke, the man with that bearded form that carries so well. Let's see. He's going to take another left-hander, and he'll be on the front. This is one of those three-wheeled scooters that's here, which is a trailing camera bike. Not the most attractive, but at least they offer up something to the Steadicam, and they've managed to stay together. How much longer can Wilco Kelderman hold on? I think he may well open up and let somebody short change here, is he?
Well, 10
goes
seconds.
To the drops.
Sorry, Carlton, 10 seconds down on Team Sky they are at the moment as they came out of the turn. 10.4 to go for Sunweb, as you say, 7 of them together at the moment.
Yep, that is Lenny Camner just coming around the outside. There's our friends Groupama. I have to keep reminding myself about Groupama, Francis de Jure, but there they are. Quality unit, yes, definitely. David Kimulai, it is. That's their team principal, and he's still here. 22.35. Still some way remaining, I'm afraid. They're going to be nearer to the 23s, I think, than the 22s by the time they get to the line, with 500 metres remaining. We politely request a clock, and we get one. 6 quickest, Trek Segafredo not going to beat Trek Segafredo this year. So from 3rd last year on the podium, much different profile to this team, I'm afraid. They've clearly sent their best to Paris-Nice, which you're probably already enjoying here on Eurosport, I am certain. And in fact, the time is just ebbing away from them. 23.13 for Groupama Francis de Jure. Bora Hansgrohe out on course, down to 5, including Peter Sagan wearing the number 1. If you're wondering where his rainbow jersey is, this is a team time trial, so that honour would be given to the entire World Championship winning team were they here as a full team. I don't think I've ever seen it, because they are always, there's always one member dropped or more.
Yeah, they're not the most powerful of teams from that point of view, but when they need to do some work for Peter Sagan, they do. But a lot of the time he wins races off of his own back, doesn't he? He doesn't rely on a team. So just want to go back quickly. Alex Dowsett's had a shower and dropped me a text message. There's lots of drain covers on the circuit, on the course, which aren't flush with the road. And there's a lot of ridges. One of the ridges is so big it nearly bounced my elbows off the arm pads. So
right.
Thanks very much to Alex for that, for coming back to us. And again, sorry, Mrs. Dowsett, like I said, he was dropped. He wasn't.
She's livid.
She's still sending
really
nasty text messages to me. I am really sorry. He had a visor on and everything. I couldn't see.
Team Sunweb, then, looking at them right now, they've managed to hold on to Tom Dumoulin. That's him just ringing the change right now. Nearest to us now. He's not well. I'm just having a look at his demeanour. He never looks overly pretty, but he does look unwell, doesn't he? And he is.
Yeah, it looks like he's changed his position a little bit for the time trials as well. He was much more of a sort of praying mantis position last year, had his hands much further up in front of his face. So he's changed that for this year as well, surprisingly. Maybe for the team time trial he doesn't ride in as extreme a position. I could be wrong, but that remains to be seen for later in the year for the Giro. But last team on the road, Sunweb, so we've only got 2 teams left to come in, Bora Hansgrohe and then Sunweb.
Yeah, it looks very uncomfortable. Just adjusted his position there. As you can see, he's actually resting his abdomen. I'm not sure whether he's had some tummy upset as part of his problems, but he's not exactly aero at the moment. He's taking wind where he doesn't need to, and I think this is about comfort and just completing the task. Yeah,
when you're in that time trial position, the position these days is so extreme. It's not the sort of position you can sit in and you're happy and you're comfortable. It's so extreme that sometimes you just, the payoff of sitting up and taking some of the strain off of your neck and back to hitting a little bit of aero, sometimes in a team time trial, that's the payoff you'll take.
Yep, 6.2 from home, and they're protecting him well for the time being. He's going to come through for his turn. I'd like to see how long he takes on the front. Time to fight back in for the rest of the team and just stay in. If you drift off the back, thankfully we've not got too many roundabouts here, because that's an absolute nightmare on occasion. If you have to deal with that, there are a few road changes, a few direction changes, even on such a what looks like an undilutedly straight course. Of course, Geske just getting back in. He led them through the 90-degree curves. Great bike handling skills from him on machines that are focused, let's put it that way. You are allowed some extensions, by the way, for the taller rider. If you're over 1.90 meters, you get a 5 centimeter allowance on your bars.
Yeah, and there's arguments that it should, that should be incremental, because either to have it or not have it just when it's 190 is a little bit unfair. Quick update for you, Mark Cavendish has unfortunately been taken off to hospital by the team staff and the race doctor, so he's been taken off to get checked out. No other update at all, but our best wishes obviously to Mark Cavendish.
Bora Hansgrohe, there's Katusha Alpecine's time. They're going to just miss out on that. Bora crossing the line in 6th place. That was a good feisty performance by them, but they give away 30 seconds, as you can see, down in 6th place. So half a minute down for Peter Sagan to try and make up. I'm not serious. He will go for stage wins only. He kind of rides this one with that view. But Koenig's here, Rafa Majka likewise, and a more than quality ride, I think that was. Team Sunweb now.
So last team out on the course, 18 minutes and 20 seconds with 4 kilometres to go. You can see how bad the surface is in some of these areas. But for me, Bora Hansgrohe, that was a good time for them. A sub 23-minute time for Majka, and on a very outside chance if Sagan's flying. Maybe for the overall, but Strade Bianche was his first race in Europe, wasn't it? So I think this is about Sagan just finding his race legs for the season.
3.9 kilometres from home, and jinking and diving out of formation. It's not the smoothest of runs from these guys, but I think they're in protective mode at the moment. They're coming in is Simon Geske, who took them through the most technical part of the course. When you get flu, it's not nice. I myself actually have taken the first day off work ever for illness with the flu that we've just had, and I've been off for injury, but not for illness. It's an absolute nasty one. I'm just hoping that Tom Dumoulin doesn't have it, because apart from anything else, it's so fatiguing.
Was it my flu that I gave you in Berlin?
I think you may well have done.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for that.
I'll add you to the list of people that I've infected with it.
Yeah, I'm sure you handed me a currywurst. I think that's what it was. But anyway, this is Tom Dumoulin at the back right now, and as you can see, he normally wouldn't have that much of a gap. It would be a smoother transition.